Okay, this is Steph Palermo, and it's the Just Steph Show. Everybody has two lives. The second one begins when you realize you only have one. We are second lifers. We're empty nesters, newly single, and those starting over. H3, your healthy, happy, hip years are just beginning. And I am live today. I'm so excited with love karma expert Leila Lara. Hey, Leila.
Hi, Steph. Thank you
How
so
are
much for
you?
having me. Oh,
Oh,
so
I'm
good.
happy to have you here. I'm so excited. I'm all about the love. Totally. I love it. So we're gonna get into it. But let me just tell you, I want to tell my audiences I am offering 12 weeks to feel groovy up close and personal with Just Steph, and also my course is going to be live at the end of January, beginning of February. I've got retreats. Check me out on juststeph.com. So you don't want to miss a beat with Just Steph, and you want to feel groovy every day. So Leila, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so thrilled to have you here. Tell me now, I read a little bit about your journey, and I find it ironic and sort of almost par for the course that the most wounded are the strongest healers.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I'd say actually majority of my mentors, especially female mentors, have had like quite the path. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So tell me about so tell me about your journey. You came from some abuse and maybe some neglect, and here you are. How did that come
Yeah.
about?
So yeah, so my journey would be, and a lot of my journey like unraveled, like my childhood abuse. So I was sexually abused by my biological father from 3 to 13. So like
Oh,
quite a chunk of my life. And so it's interesting, but I didn't remember any of that until I was about 26 years old. I'm 34 now. And I spent 4 years kind of like figuring all that out. And I was really physically sick. I had undiagnosed Lyme disease that it took actually a family friend who's a expert in Lyme disease, who was finally like, people were always trying to diagnose me with mental illness and all this other stuff.
right.
And the real things were that, I had Lyme disease and I was a survivor of pretty intense sexual abuse when I was a child. And it was just blocked out because the human brain can't handle that kind of stuff at that age.
Right.
So, and I was just stuck. So I was sick and I, was getting treated for Lyme disease. But even with all of that, I still, I could barely work. I could barely function in the world. I mean, 5 years ago, I was technically homeless. I was living with, this herbalist and, his partner, who's one of my really close friends. But I mean, it's still technically homeless. I had a child who, my parents were taking care of. He still chooses to live there because, it's consistency. But
Right.
it's hard to bring your child back after you kind of like are like, peace out, I need to go get healthy. It's, but so
Right.
that's still something I'm working on. So I feel, and I just say that because I feel like we're at least at this point in my life, and for most healers, and I love that you talk about self-care, because I feel like, especially if you're in that healer role, the work's never over. And, there's like this pyramid where it's like, okay, so you're the healer, but that also means that you're healing. So you're still constantly in that healing process. And,
Right.
so you're healing others, you're healing yourself, and then that's what makes you healed. So it's that
Right.
triangle.
Right.
And so, yeah, so it was just really difficult. And I got to this point where I was just so sick and I was desperate. And my the people I was staying with were taking this class with this karma guy who did this karma healing work. And I had been to healers since I was very young. My family just couldn't really understand what was wrong with me. They thought I was a difficult child. I struggled with alcohol abuse and all this other stuff because nobody was actually treating the real problems.
Right.
And so I finally went to this guy who I ended up studying with. And so at that point I was in daily panic attacks, like waking up and just like couldn't get my breath, and every single day. And it was just like I was so depressed, and there were so many things going on. Oh, and I had horrible love experience, like horrible, just
Right.
rejection, or I'd reject others. And
Right.
so finally I went to this guy, and within a couple of days, the panic attacks went away. I still had anxiety, and it took years to unwind that, but the panic attacks went away. And, so he cleared these karmas. So karmas, most people feel that karma is, oh, I do something bad happens to me. Whereas karmas in neurotic karma healing is more so you do something or you experience something, like you're a victim of, like a strong one for me was a victim of, a violent death. So I had many lives where I was killed violently. And then there was, rejected bride. So, I was a rejected bride. So I'd always get into relationships and they'd end quickly. Even, my longest relationship was 2 years, but even that one, if I looked back on it, would be, 3 months.
Right.
So, and as these things cooked out, my life just started shifting, and I ended up studying his work. And even in the first class, I entered in late, and, I'm sitting in this class with, 20 other people, a lot of people who had been studying for 2-something years. And he asks, he picks out someone in the group and he's like, okay, so let's talk about what's going on, and we'll see if the class can figure out what the karma is. And, so this guy's talking about how, he just can't forgive his child. His child goes in and he says he's sorry, and he just he struggles with it, and he just can't forgive him. And all of a sudden I just hear, it's like a whisper in my ear, forgiveness is compartmentalized with penance. So forgiveness, the feeling of forgiveness, can't be accessed unless somebody gives penance for what they've done. So this guy had been a priest in another life. And I remember everybody in the class just looking at me like, how do you know that? My teacher's like, see, I told you she's a natural.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got into it. And so it's really interesting, because when you've truly healed, I can talk about, when I talk about, my sexual trauma as a child, or more so the sexual trauma I experienced as a child, flashes come up, all that other stuff. I still see images, but it doesn't affect me. It doesn't, I used to shake. It would just, if that kind of stuff came into my head, it would be the end of the day. Right. And I also didn't believe I was worthy of being in a romantic relationship. And I have the perfect partner now, and we're happily married, and, there's all this great stuff, but, it's taken a lot of unwinding to get there.
Right. So as far as your psychic ability, don't you feel like you've had some of you recognized that early on, but just maybe poo-pooed it? Or
yeah, I'd actually say that more so everybody else around me poo-pooed it. So my psychic abilities, I'm considered to be pretty, as this astrologer said once, she's like, you're a true psychic. Do you realize that? And I think I normalize it. I don't realize that other people hear other people's thoughts, or, so other people are thinking about me. I'm like, what's going on? And, it's like someone's in my ear, and, I hear stuff about information. I can see past lives. I can see into the future. Right. And all this other stuff. Future is always variable. So if a psychic's saying this will definitely happen, that's a little rare. But it's for a client sitting in front of me, if, for instance, my soul ovation clients, if there's, when their energy has opened up enough to actually allow in a romantic partner, and they've cleared enough of their love karma, all of a sudden I'll see the guy there, and all of a sudden, it'll be, I see him on his knee, or I'll see them underneath a, not an altar, but that thing.
Right. So, well, yeah, because I think that it's funny when you have gifts, you think everybody else sees what you see. Because I'm the same way as far as my gifts. I think that everybody can see the thing. When I can read souls, I see what people have gone through in their lives. I think everybody else can see it.
Yeah.
Or I can actually know their story. So I get what you're saying. You think that everybody else can see. So you expect them to understand, especially if somebody's not, I find that in my life, I can see people's whole self, whereas somebody will say, oh, they're just not a nice person. But I can sort of see the other side of it. And, you know, do you know what I'm saying? So
I know exactly what you're saying. I sometimes it's to a fault. When I was a kid, it actually really, I had to learn a lot from that because, you know, my thing is I see people and I see their soul self more than, you know, more than all of the other woundings. However, if you step into session with me, you know, it's going to be bam, 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 karma after karma, but that's not like who you are as in your essence.
Right, you know? Right. I love that. So tell me about now you've come this far and you're doing amazing work, and you're healing, you're healed and healing like we all are. Yeah. And so what do you do as an entrepreneur who's a healer? I mean, people can drain you. Yeah. I sometimes have to walk away from people because I'm like, you're draining me.
Yeah.
What do you do? You know, what do you do to take care of yourself?
Well, so there's some certain things, like there's karmas I've had, you know, I've released like sacrificial healers. So like I no longer have that karma. So I don't, you know, like I used to the first few years, I undercharged or I charged appropriately for being new to what it was. But at this point I charge whatever my soul tells me the number is, I do it. And it's like, sometimes it'll be 6 months later, I'm changing my pricing, you know?
Right.
And so, you know, I listen to what my system says it wants for me to charge, and I do that. And so when it comes to clients, I don't feel drained by my clients because the energy exchange is equal. And I also have very clear boundaries, you know, like, especially when you're a psychic intuitive, people can get overly dependent on you. So for my clients' sake, so soul elevation is like a 1-year process, and I work weekly with my clients aside from my vacation time. And so in between that time, I'm not available. You know, if they need to reschedule or something, sometimes they can tell me. I have an admin that they can go to though. And so like I have very clear boundaries like that so that they don't get overly dependent and they rely on themselves and they use the tools they're given. So that's huge. The other thing is, you know, having an admin who handles that. You know, I have a publicist who handles Jackie, who's amazing. Right. And, you know, like she handles stuff like this, or she'll handle my events. So there's those things. But then in my personal life, I honor the factor that I'm an introvert. And that took me years to come to realizing I'm an introvert, meaning I'm not built to have 5 million friends. I have really high quality friends who I trust, but it doesn't mean I have to see them or talk to them every single day, or even sometimes every month. I have certain friends who I only see 2 times a year, maybe.
What about, you know, the way you take care of your body, exercise, eating right, any of that? You know, do you practice any of that?
Oh, so important. I mean, organic food is essential. I'm actually very lucky. My mother brought me up eating very clean to the point where my body rejects other foods. So, you know, when it comes to, I eat mostly organic. I really follow my intuition. So sometimes I eat meat, sometimes I don't. It depends on what my body's telling me.
Right.
For self-care, I mean, even to the extent of I actually do coffee enemas every single day as long as I'm not on my moon cycle, as a detoxifier, because just the air, and I might be like getting way too out there for some people, but you know, just the air we're breathing is so toxic nowadays. And just, you know, the chemicals, and you're walking around, you know, people use heavy scented laundry detergent, fabric softener towels, and all of that's really not great for us. And so, you know, like I try and keep my system very clean. I like to walk as much as possible. You know, I'll go snowboarding today after this before I go see clients. So it's more so, at this point in my life, it's more so what my body's telling me it needs that day. Sometimes it's yoga. Sometimes it's just sleep. Sometimes it's like, okay, I'm going to wake up early morning, I'm going to do a bar class. And my body's like, no, you need extra sleep. Right. And I think that's the biggest one that I notice in people, is that most people in our society are extremely sleep deprived. So,
yeah, well,
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, totally. I get that. Yeah, sleep is so important. People don't realize it. It resets you. I mean, it's so big, and it's so important with everything, with with the hormones and everything. It really,
Hormones, your energy system, a lot of stuff, it can heal itself, and I of course go to like a ton of practitioners, weekly acupuncture, other healers, um, business coach, what
right.
else? It takes like a team.
Well, you know what? I'm with you because I'm thinking I have been I've come so far in my journey, and I have more people around me giving me what I'm going to say advice, but just people like coaches and therapists and whatever. It's like more now than when I was crazy.
Yeah.
You, I mean, because
Oh,
now I'm like,
totally.
okay, somebody has a certain focus, and you feel like this is where you need to work on what you need to work on, and it's important. And I think people don't realize that, and I think money becomes an issue.
Money becomes a huge issue, and it's really interesting, especially for romantic love. What I notice is that a lot of women who have like tough love karma really struggle at investing in themselves and feeling like they're worth investing in, feeling like, oh, I can invest in me. And it's funny because they'll invest in like the lashes and like the getting your hair colored and all these external things, oh, that'll help me get the guy, where it's like, it doesn't have to do with your outsides, honey. It has to do with your insides, and your energy is
Right.
literally repelling people.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely. Right. Because
and
what you put out is what you get back.
no, totally. And sometimes it's not even conscious. That's the thing that's interesting about karma. A lot of times it's from other lives. And so
Right.
it's like, I've some of my clients, oh, well, first of all of my clients have worked with therapists, coaches before they ever get to me. I'm like, I'm what they call sometimes the big guns, or the key
Right.
holder,
Right.
so like that, I'm your last resort. And you come in and you're like ready to do the work. And that's totally okay with me. I understand that. But I think it's really interesting because they'll have gone to dating coaches, they'll have gone to matchmakers, they've gone to therapists, and they're still hitting this roof, because until your energetics are in alignment with what you're wanting, like a lot of my clients, it's not even just the love. We work on everything. It's a holistic process. And so it's kind of like, okay, one of them, it's just they're finding out, I heard the other day, I'm like, this is what you should be making. It was about, $100,000 more than she is. $100,000, right? Female doctor, totally brilliant, very rare kind of doctor. And, so now she's in the process of negotiating for that.
Right. Well, because I think how, and correct me if I'm wrong, your worth is your worth is your worth, whether it's with clients, a love, your kids, the people around you, whatever you do is and I know my business coach has said to me, you need to think in terms of whatever you're doing for work, is that something that a high executive should be doing? Like somebody who gets paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, should I be posting on Facebook?
Yeah,
Do you know?
exactly.
Because so you have to know your worth.
Yeah, you absolutely have to know your worth, and you have to also think outside the box. And so I think it's really interesting with the money thing, because, and this is where I feel like for me, it helps me be very clear. It's like, I'm very empathetic to not having money. I was literally homeless 5 years ago,
Right.
so think of the buildup for someone. So in 3.5 years, I've gone from, you know, opening my business to having a 6-figure business. And I've done that because, first of all, when I was only making $20,000 a year, I was spending $6,000 in people who were helping me with my business, so other intuitives, other healers, other coaches, that
Right.
was at $20,000. I'm spending $6,000. So that's 40% of my income was
Right.
going back out. And so, but you know what, now I'm have a 6-figure business in 3.5 years. That's unheard of. And I don't say that as a being someone to brag, but I've been told that a ton of times. It's unheard of. And on top of it, you know, it's not just like some miracle. I've highly invested in myself. I've highly invested in my healing, and I've highly invested in having an excellent service. And so, of course, it'll be a 6-figure business. At some point, it'll be a 7-figure business. And
Absolutely.
so, but you have to invest that first. And so if you want romantic love, first of all, if money is part of your issue and you're working on love stuff or any type of stuff, you have to invest in yourself before anybody else is going to invest in you. Because
Right.
if your energy is saying, oh no, I'm not going to pay for that, it's an absolute no, you're totally closed off, and other people are going to reflect that back to you. You know, and there's defense mechanisms in there. There's so much going on. You know, you have a primary defense of hoarding your money, or, survivalistically living, and the list goes on and on. So it's really so important, you know, Steph, you know, if you're wanting to be happy, and Steph has this program, invest in her program. It's a no brainer. I want to be happy. There's a simple 12-week program that's going to help me be more happy.
Right.
Like, come on.
I agree. I agree. Well, see, I'm doing it, you know, I think you and I are sort of similar in the sense that we're coachable, where, you know, we want good things for ourselves, and we want to be we love life, and we enjoy it, and we want those good things. And so we find the best ways to get that. And I'm worth it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
But I also think, you know, because I have, for instance, one of my clients would be considered to others uncoachable, and we're actually just going on year 2, and she's made tremendous shifts. So sometimes with people who are uncoachable, which I definitely agree, they have a presentation of not being coachable, and they don't like seem to have as much of a desire. It's more so they have like a lot of blocks. So they have like,
I agree.
Yeah, defenses of avoiding love. They, you know, reject love. They have a hunger for transformation. So if you have the energy of a hunger, even if things are changing, you're not going to be able to feel it, and you're going to revert back.
Right.
You know, or you're not, it's not, or it's just not going to be able to happen for you. So even, and that's what happens a lot is clients who have come to me, you know, they've done the law of attraction. I was one of those people, you know, I was raised, my mom was like super hippy dippy. So I was raised like listening to law of attraction CDs and all this stuff. And so like, I knew how to do that. And I was like, what is wrong with me? And people, I would hate when people would say, oh, well, you know, you're just attracting this. And it was like, I'm like, I don't want this. This is not what I'm attracting. And it was just really tough karma that was attracting the same thing over and over again. Because karma is this like energy magnet in your energy field, like out here, well, way out there. And it's just attracting the same thing over and over again.
Okay. So you're saying the karma attracts what you get back, and it's not really your vibration.
Well, so karma is kind of a vibration. So your vibration, so everybody's soul self, right? So before you've had any wounding, right? So let's say your first incarnation ever, your first life, and you've had 0 woundings, and you come out of the womb and you're in divine flow, and you're excited to be there. You're also a little bit shocked. It's cold. There's people around you. What's going on? You know, but you're still there ready and ready to receive love, because that's our, you know, our original state of being. That's how life is. And the second, though, let's say your mom's distracted and you're crying because you're hungry and she doesn't go feed you, all of a sudden a part of you has a wounding and it breaks off, you know, and then you go further into your life and all of a sudden, you know, it's the first guy, the first girl that you're into. And all of a sudden, you know, you go to kiss them. And this happened to me. You go to kiss them on the playground and they just run the other direction, you know? And so these things that seem like just, you know, life, which they are, but over lives, or if you've had an experience where you were actually left at the altar, whether it's this life or another life, the amount of energy, if you think about it, you're left at the altar, you're in shock, your whole family's there, your heart breaks, you truly thought you were in love with the person, and you know, you find out either they just don't want to be with you or they ran off with someone else. The amount of feelings, every single one of those feelings has its own karma, right? So victim and trauma of sudden unexpected abandon, primary fear and expectation of sudden unexpected abandonment comes up when you start dating. Then it's like failed relationship sustainer, rejection invoker, so you start invoking more rejection. You know, a lot of women in times in the past would, you know, have a primary defense of devoting their life to God, so they'd become a nun, something like that. So, you know, if you're a woman and, you know, you're in your later years and you've never had sex, you've never had a relationship, you know, you probably have some sort of nun karma. So karma is really, really tricky. And we have our physical body, and most healers work inside the physical body, but our aura is very, very complex. And our aura is where the karma exists. So physical body, then, you know, way out here, there's this, you know, so failed romantic relationship sustainer, or, you know, failed romantic relationship defender, right? Some guy cheats on you, you must have some sort of failed romantic relationship defender. And that sits there, and that just keeps attracting the same thing over and over again. Even if you change the guy, you're still going to have certain sexual attractions, certain imprint vulnerabilities. So with the karma work, so soul elevation is a compilation of all of my favorite modalities, because I don't feel like just one way is the best. At certain times you have to use different things, though my primary focus is karma because it's my favorite. And but this keeps attracting the same thing over and over again. But in road karma healing, what we do is we still the light body, and what happens is this is able to relax out. And as you take out more and more pieces, it relaxes out. And what that does in here is it actually organically starts rewiring the brain. So I've watched clients who, you know, really struggle with abusive relationships, and they're like, I don't know what happened. One day I just snapped and I was like, it's over. And I didn't think about it. And, you know, because people who tend to be in abusive relationships tend to go back. They tend to go back and they want to make it okay again. But instead, all of a sudden, just one day, bam, it's over. And, you know, so there's that aspect. Then there's, you know, so it's rewiring the brain, but also, so you've got your main chakra systems, you know, we've all seen pictures of the main chakras, but then you also have sub chakras. So these tiny chakras, and like, you know, so underneath your left breast is your Venus, which has to do with love, romance. Under your right is, you know, Mars, which has to do with, you know, how you make things happen in the world. And there's a lot of them. And so as you're clearing these karmas, it starts balancing out these chakra points, and it switches your energy flow. So for instance, most people's hearts are not open to receiving love, and they excessively give, especially healers. And so it's just so interesting to watch people completely get rewired.
Right. So, okay, question. Yeah. What do you see is the as the biggest desire of, or question or want of in love and in love relationships that people come to see you for? Like, do they want a new love? Do they want an ex back? Do they want, you know, do they want to change everything up? What is the number one thing that you're seeing?
People who want the right partner, or my married clients. So my married clients tend to be entrepreneurs. So they have their own business, or they're really career driven. And so they usually come in because they know they've got some sort of thing that's blocking them from their next level. And, you know, and they tend to be married, and most of the time, these entrepreneurs, their marriage, like they've got love stuff going on in there. So for them, but it's like, it's all self-love for my married clients usually, and then we go into everything else. For single clients, it's more so, okay, I want the person for me. But it's also, some of them realize that before they get the person, they need to work on some of, like, if they struggle with depression or anxiety. And so they'll do that first,
Right.
and then they'll, you know, and it's so funny and those people tend to be very disinterested in the idea of a romantic relationship at first. And then it'll be the end of year one and they're like, okay, let's do another year. Let's do love.
Right. Oh, there you go. So let me ask you this. What is your thought on like twin souls, like the runner and the chaser? What do you think about that? And soulmates?
So I do think there's a lid for every pot. I don't know if I totally agree with soulmates. I think a lot of times when people think they've found a soulmate, it's somebody who they've been with in another life that they still have stuff to work through. But is that their person for this life? I don't think so. I don't actually hear, from what I see, there's not a person for another person. You know, there's a person, but you have multiple love opportunities.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. So there's choices out there.
Yeah, there's choices out there. And it's all just also part of your journey of growth in yourself.
Right.
But the twin flame, the soulmate, I hear that all the time, and I'll hear it used very loosely. I definitely think there's perfect partners for people. And there are people who it's kind of like, I'll hear, well, you know, if at this phase of your life, this is a good partner for you, but you might outgrow this relationship. Does that make sense?
Right. Okay. So go ahead.
No, sorry, just one last thing. A lot of men aren't on a growth trajectory, and that's one of the biggest things. You have to either be willing to settle with someone as they are, or you have to negotiate for that growth throughout your entire relationship. So
right. So basically you're saying be happy where you're at, or grow together, or grow apart.
Yeah.
So, okay. And what do you see is, just kind of getting back to the money, what do you see that money with like now where women are actually earning much more money? It's not like back in the, 50s and 60s where the wife stayed home and the dad was the breadwinner and all of that. Today, women are making as much, if not more than men. And especially for some, like I'm 52 and, so I'm single and 52, and I think men sometimes have an issue with the money that women make or not make. And do you see that is a problem, the differential, money points?
Well, it's more so about the exchange, and it's more so about people's perceptions around it. So like, I'll go personal on this one. Like, my husband's super old school. And so, when we first got together, he really wanted to be the provider and all that. And I don't operate my business from a place of the numbers. And me and my business coach kind of go back and forth with this sometimes, because I'm like, this is just not how I operate my business. Like, I'm open to receiving, but I'm not going to do it by numbers. I'm going to do it by results, success, quality, people taken care of, feeling nurtured, confidentiality, all that. And so, I earn more than my husband now. And so but it's just about having the conversations, and it's about the appreciation. So a lot of women, where the problem is that a lot of women who are the higher earners, they tend to, because women, no matter what, we want to be taken care of and feel taken care of.
Right.
So they tend to like put the guy down, even if it's like subconsciously. And so it's important that you're in appreciation. So I have this wild business and it's amazing and fun, but insurance is crazy expensive when you have your own business versus, if you get it through a corporation. And that stability of a consistent paycheck, whatever it is huge. It's really huge. And so my husband knows, because I tell him all the time and I make a point to, thank you so much for providing the stability for me to do my crazy business.
Right. Right. I think appreciation is big.
It's huge, and it's the biggest thing, actually, when it comes to much older thought processes, like way beyond like old school, like thousands of years old. It's like the woman asks and she says, "Oh, honey, I want you to, build me this house. I really want this house." And the man, he goes out and he builds that house. And she's just like, "Honey, thank you so much. This is so beautiful. It's so perfect." And, and you can even notice, like, my tone, everything drops when I say that type of thing. And I make sure it comes from the heart.
Right.
Right. So you let your whole self feel that. And then his reward is that. And this is where it's gotten reversed, is so men are constantly expecting they're going to get something in return that's more feasible. And really, it's because most of the time, they're not experiencing the appreciation they need. And a lot of this starts even from early childhood, having mothers that are way too controlling, way too dominating. And
Right.
so it's a big thing.
Do you have a lot of men as clients?
No, I have much less men than women. I've always had about a 20 to 80% ratio.
Right. Okay. So tell us about your services.
All right.
What do you offer?
So right now I have 2 services. I do have some programs I'm developing. And so I work mostly with clients in 6-month to year-long contracts. And that's a process called Soul Elevation. And it's so beautiful. It was guided to me a little over a year ago. And it's really about, we set our intentions. And through that year, I study their personal karma. So they literally write out all their love history, all of their health history, all their money, school, work history, so holistically. And then they also write out all of their lineage, so all their family stuff that they know and remember. And so I study all of that during our time while we're working together. And so over the 6 months to a year, a lot of clients, it's, true love. Some people, it'll be conceiving a baby. Some people, it'll be, new career path, whatever it is. And over that time, and usually we do like anywhere from, if it's 6 months, usually like 3 intentions. A year, it'll be like more like 6 intentions. And often we get to 6 months and we're still adding new intentions just because we're crushing it. It really depends on the client and how open their heart is. But most of my clients really, they're open, they're driven, and they're just stuff's just happening in their life and it's miraculous. So, so we set the intentions, and throughout that year, we really do what I call an entire energetic makeover. And it's really wonderful that they see that too. And it's not even they see it, the world sees it. Their friends, one of the most common things I'll hear from clients is, everyone's saying, I'm so different. I'm just so different. And, and I feel different and I think different, and the road rage is gone.
Right. Oh, that's nice. I mean, you love it because, I mean, really, I one of my things is, can you imagine a world where everybody's feeling groovy? I can. It's sort of the same thing. If everybody loves themselves enough, loves themselves and what a great world it would be. I mean, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I see an amazing world where everybody just loves each other. Like, and I don't mean just sort of like kind of pie in the sky, where you have that deep love for yourself and another human being.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's the thing. That's one of the most important things. And it's going to take everybody working on themselves, and that's why I do tend to, a year ago when I switched into this, it was about switching into working with more, people who are influencers. So, entrepreneurs, people who have their own business, have some sort of influence on others, because as they shift their energy, you know, literally their family, all of a sudden they're like, I don't even recognize my family anymore. They were like, they were so nice to me. My mom actually called me pretty. You know, she never calls me pretty. She calls me fat, you know? So
Right.
and that's the biggest thing, because this world can be so much better, but every single one of us have to be at least open to lifting our vibration. And the more of us that can really be working it, this can be such a beautiful world, you know.
I agree. I think it already is, because I always see everything, I guess, through rose-colored glasses, because I think that everything is amazing and life is just, even if something hurts or it feels like it hurts in that moment, I always know it's the best thing, because it's growth.
Yes.
So do you see a lot of that, like where people actually have some growing pains while they're with you, or is it always just real positive?
I think it's uncomfortable. I don't see everything through rose-colored glasses myself. I'll admit that. I see everything as I'm very aware of fifth person perspective, where it's like seeing it from more so like the divine sight and the bigger picture. And in my day-to-day life, I'm very aware of what doesn't work for me, what does work for me, and whose energy works
Right,
for me and doesn't work
right,
for me. And that's part of the boundaries. That's part of my self-care. Just because otherwise everybody would want to be sucking my energy all the time, because my aura is very relaxing and calming. You know, so of course,
right,
you know, who doesn't want to hang out in like a calm energy? So
right.
I think that growing pains are absolutely part of it. And sometimes it's very uncomfortable. You know, for instance, the client who's working on getting a raise, it's very uncomfortable because for 8 years, they never asked for a raise. They just assumed that the company or, you know, the hospital was taking care of them appropriately.
Right, 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 right.
And there
So
is
what?
negative energy. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree. And so when I say rose-colored glasses, I mean, I think everything works out for our higher good, in the sense that I look at people and I can say, well, maybe I don't want to hang around this person, or I don't want to be near them, or I get that energy. Sometimes I don't want to go into a house. I mean, I
Yeah.
get it. I'm like, yay, no. So, and especially, you know, I went, have you been to Savannah,
No.
Georgia? Yeah, it's all spirits. It's all, the whole place. And I'm on this ghost tour. I'm like, no, we're standing on these graves. We're standing on them because and then the guy said, well, we're standing on them. I go, yeah, I know. I mean, it's a lot of energy. So
Yeah.
it's not so much rose-colored glasses in the sense that like everything's perfect. It's in the sense that it's all okay. Like we're all working, we're all going to get there, like in that kind of sense.
Well, so honestly, Steph, that's where you're really blessed. And I definitely have that feeling myself also. But when it comes to clients, I see a lot of clients that have what I'd call destiny to spare, where they're not able to look out into the future and see that light. And I definitely in the past had that myself. At this point,
Oh, I know. I
yeah,
wasn't always there.
yeah, exactly.
I
But
wasn't
more,
always there.
I know, people think, oh, she's just so lucky. It's like, no, this is it. No luck. This is hard work. Hard work.
Yeah. It's a lot of pain and suffering, but I think for me, and I'm going to, maybe this is the same for you, that desire to be aligned
Yeah.
is greater than the despair or the lack of
Yes.
hope.
And that's absolutely what shifted. And a lot of people actually take, so the past year or so, and it'll be going on for a few years, the energy has shifted where it's like, you need to get up and wake up and like work on your stuff, or like, you know, we're just going to keep on knocking at you until you do. And so some people are having really tough years where like they just feel like they keep on getting knocked down. They're like, what the heck's going on? And it's like, it's just that time where they need to wake up.
Right. I agree. So before I ask you about how people can find you, so tell me about the soul elevation. Like, can you just give a specific definition of what that is, and in maybe some of the other, is that all you offer? You have some other things?
So I have an introductory solvation session, and then I have some other programs that I will be bringing out in the future. I
Great.
just had one that I just closed, and then I have a couple ones that I'm seeing will come out in probably by January.
And who is your ideal client?
So my ideal clients are, successful people who are really driven and who know there's a next level of their soul's potential. And through, so either I have a single, introductory soulvation session where people get a 90-minute session and they get to experience me and, working together and hearing, so I translate people's highest self and what I'm hearing for them. And we do some of the karma work. Soulvation itself, it's not only the karma work. We do soul retrievals, we do illuminations, there's a lot of coaching, there's a lot of intuitive advisement, and it's really a whole holistic process of completely getting you. And I love it because in 2 to 3 months, I'm seeing whether it's, by the way, my husband and I haven't had a fight since we started together, or, oh my God, I can't believe it happened so fast. Is this really the guy? And I'm just like, well, you gotta play out your process and work your boundaries and see if you're able to do that. But I mean, it's really quick. And the reason with Soulvation, I heard it was a year. I do 6 months also, because some people just aren't ready for the year, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
But is because it's really about helping the transitions happen and also helping them stabilize and sustain the shifts that are in their lives. So, yeah.
All right. How can people find you?
Oh, sorry. All right. So Facebook, you can find me as Leila Laura Love Karma Coach. And then also on Instagram, Love Karma Expert.
And your website?
Website, Leila Laura, LEILA.com.
Great. And okay, now I have one last question.
Yes.
If you could invite 7 people from any time period to dinner, you're the 8th person, who would they be?
Okay, so I love this question, and thank you for giving me a heads up on it, because I actually had to think. I was like, oh, only 7. So definitely the O's. So Oprah, the Obamas, Michelle, and Barack, of course. I think they're all brilliant. And Marie Antoinette, I think she has very interesting love karma. I would love to have a conversation with her. Jesus, I love his energy. He actually works with me a lot in my sessions, but I'm just like, why would I want him at dinner? Of course. Hitler, again, I just think he'd be very interesting to have a conversation with, especially like as a seer of people's like darkest woundings. I just think he's such a wounded little boy. Not great things he did in his life, but it'd just be interesting. And then Inayat Khan, who is a Sufi teacher, who is just beautiful, was beautiful.
There you go. So, will you come back another time?
I'd love to. Are you kidding me?
Yay. Okay, great. All right. So, I just want to tell everybody, check me out. I'm on Facebook as well. Facebook, Just Steph. Twitter at Steph Palermo, Just Steph 1 on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. This video will be on YouTube at some point when we get it all edited and all of that. And of course, juststeph.com. You can sign up for a free consultation with me. I have my 12 hours to feel groovy, up close and personal. That's my one-on-one coaching. And my course is going to be launched Q1 of 2019. I have a retreat in Sicily coming up in June and workshops all throughout the year in Boston. So I'm thrilled and I'm excited to be working with my clients and all of you. And I love this all. I love my podcast. I love being with everybody. And Leila Laura, I love you.
Oh, so I love you too. You're amazing.
Thank you so much for being with me today. And I look forward to talking to you more. And are you going to Jackie's event tonight?
I will. I'll be there after 8:30. So
great. Well, I'm in the magazine this week, this month, or this quarter.
Awesome. And are you going to be there tonight?
I'm in Atlanta. So I actually come to Boston tomorrow. So I missed it by one day. If I had known, I would have made my flights a little bit earlier. But I made these flights a long time ago. So anyway, so thanks for being with me. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Know I love you all. Wishing you love, balance, and peace. Ciao, ciao, baby.